What if Sophia Lamb's big sisterhood wasn't a moral choice but a weapon forged to shatter Objectivism's soul? Her collectivism didn't oppose Ryan's creed, it twisted it, a grotesque reflection amplifying his sins. Every sacrifice, every chain mirrored Rapture's rod, it fed it. Moral the choice but a weapon sisterhood didn't forge to conquer, shatter Objectivism, a grotesque reflection amplifying his sins. Every sacrifice, ideologies devouring themselves. But what does Rapture's Andrew Roddiot fed it, Ryan actually believe at the end? When the mirror cracked, what truth did he see in the abyss? At the heart of the lighthouse, Sophia Lamb's vision crystallized a collectivism, not as salvation but as siege. Her big sisterhood didn't oppose Objectivism, it mirrored its hunger, inverted. Where Rapture's towers crumbled under self-interest, Lamb's halls suffocated under shared ruin. Both ideologies, twin engines of annihilation, carved their empires into ash. The lighthouse stands as monument to cycles unbroken, every utopia a blueprint for oblivion. What if the true horror isn't choice or its absence but the weight of the mirror, reflecting failures we refuse to see? Sophia Lamb's scalpel cut deeper than Ryan's philosophy. She watched his utopia rot, citizen against citizen. By 1958, the Civil War had carved Rapture's soul into screaming, dependent things, splicers, beggars, broken. What did the healer become when the patient bled out? Lamb's big sisterhood did not reject Objectivism, it weaponized its failures. Where Ryan exalted self, she demanded surrender. Where he praised strength, she fed on weakness. A mirror held to his shattered ideals, polished with blood, no villainy here. Only grief sharpened into a creed. Ryan's paradise had no room for those who faltered. Lamb's collectivism was a cage for the same. Both systems starved, both systems devoured. The war never ended, it just changed its face. The splicers knew both masters. And in the end, neither master spared them. Eleanor Lamb's voice cracks through the static, a child's whisper, sharpened to a blade. She speaks of curing the disease that birthed Rapture Objectivism's rot. Sophia's big sisterhood was no utopia, it was a scalpel. The helmets didn't hide identity, they erased it. 1,000 splicers, 1,000 blank slates. Eleanor was the first test, her mind rewired to crave the collective, to fear the self. The program's true aim, not to replace Objectivism. To mirror it, to prove that collectivism, like individualism, could be engineered into the flesh. Sophia's obsession was not with power, it was with proof. She believed Rapture's collapse was a failure of method, not ideology. If Ayn Rand's disciples could be spliced into monsters, why not reshape them into angels? The big sisters were her answer. Their rage, their loyalty, their blind devotion, it was all spliced, all scripted, a counterweight to the little sisters' exploitation. A system where the many owned the many, but the math was the same: extraction, control, devouring. Eleanor's diaries whisper the truth. The big sisterhood wasn't a revolution, it was a palindrome, a reflection of Rapture's original sin. Sophia saw this. She knew collectivism would collapse like Objectivism, but she needed the experiment to fail. Needed the world to see that no ideology could survive the weight of its own purity. The helmets hiss, the sisters move in unison. Are they victims or vessels? The war between self and state never ends, it only changes its mask. And in the dark, Eleanor's voice asks, when the cure becomes the disease, who decides which madness is the real one? Beneath Persephone's ash, a voice crackles, not a plea, a manifesto. Sophia Lamb, trapped in her own tomb, laughs a sound like bones grinding. She did not flee Rapture's fire. She walked into Persephone's belly, chains forged by her own hands, to watch, to prove. To become the final argument against the lie of choice. Rapture drowned in its hunger. Persephone starves in its unity. Both are cages polished with different rust. Free will is a mirror, Lamb hisses, crack it, and the crowd decides what's real. Her words are a blade turned inward, a collectivism that does not share, only swallow. The little sisters did not choose, the daughters do not choose. Even salvation, she whispers, is a leash. Objectivists built gods of their greed. Lamb built a god of their guilt. One screamed take . The other screams sacrifice . Both are hungry. Her rage is not madness, it is a mirror, polished with the same dirt that choked Ayn's utopia. What if the sickness was never the ideology, but the need to name one savior ? Lamb's sisterhood is no curingly a shadow, stretching until it too bleeds light. The audio ends, silence hums. And in that hum, Aliner's question lingers. When the cure wears the same face as the plague, does the world ever truly escape? The water in Minerva's den is colder than Rapture's, deeper. The big sisters are not born, they are made. Lamb's program does not command, it unravels. Each sister is a wound sutured shut, their minds pickled in a broth of dependency and rage. They do not follow orders. They crave the embrace of their maker, a hunger sculpted from childhood's erased. The conditioning is not chains but a second skin, seamless and inescapable. What is autonomy when the self is a patchwork of stolen memories and manufactured need? Sofia Lamb did not fight objectivism, she became its shadow. Where Ryan traded will for profit, she traded will for safety. Both promised salvation, both delivered prisons. The would you kindly of Rapture was a needle, the big sisterhood is a slow drowning. The sisters do not resist, they cannot. Their love for Lamb is not choice but a scar, a neural lattice woven from years of whispered reassurance. Asterisk, you are mine. You are whole, asterisk, the symmetry is cruel. Ryan's victims are puppets, Lamb's are ghosts, both ideologies rot from within. Objectivism fractures into paranoia. Collectivism dissolves into symbiosis with the tyrant who saves you. The sisters' ice-glassy, unblinking mirror the hollow stares of Rapture's faithful. One system sells your labor. The other sells your soul and calls it mercy. What does it mean to be free when both cures are poisons? Lamb's world is not a rebellion. It is a mirror, cracked and infinite. Every kindly becomes a lullaby, every collectivist brotherhood a chokehold. The sisters do not know their own names. Ryan's followers do not know their own desires. The sea outside hums, it knows no masters. The Civil War, 19,581,960, did not end with victory. It dissolved into splicer howls and sister screams. Sofia's care was a chain, Ryan's freedom was a noose. Both ideologies demanded total surrender. The big sisters do not rescue little sisters, they enslave them. Their own childhoods drowned in atom blood. Lamb's collectivism was not a utopia. It was a parasite feeding on the same hunger that gnawed at Ryan's ego. She promised unity, yet her sisters march in silence, their thoughts erased by the greater good. When the Civil War shattered, her followers did not rebel. They obeyed even as their city burned. What hope is a sisterhood that murders its own to protect the rest? The sea outside Rapture does not weep. It has seen both systems collapse, gods of gold and gods of crowd scrumbling into the same black sand. Lamb's final act was not triumph. It was a mirror cracked and bleeding, and in it Ryan's shadow danced. Sofia Lamb's big sisterhood was no utopia, it was a scalpel. A blade twisted to carve out the rot of objectivism to become a festering wound itself. She did not oppose Ayn Rand's philosophy with virtue. She weaponized its shadow. Every little sister harvested, every soul bound to her will, was a rebuttal screamed in the language of Ryan's own madness. Collectivism here was not a cure, it was a mirror cracked at the seams. Where objectivism starved the weak to feed the strong, the sisterhood starved the strong to feed the weak. Both systems demanded worship. Both built temples on human bones. The little sisters were not victims, they were the sacrament, the weapon, the prison. The whisper this little truth, seized are they not where the triumphs, they are tombs. Her ideology, like Ryan's, was a house of glass shaped by rage, not reason. She sought to drown ego in unity, yet unity became another kind of chain. Her sisterhood was a monolith, as cold and unyielding as the spire that pierced Rapture's heart. In the end, both philosophies collapsed. Not because they failed, because they succeeded. Sofia's mirror shattered under the weight of its own reflection, and in the shards only the ocean remained. What if the big sisterhood was not a creed but a scalpel, a blade twisted to carve out the rot objectivism refused to see? Lamb's collectivism did not oppose Ayn's godless gospel, it mirrored it, a funhouse reflection of the same hunger. Both systems demanded sacrifice, one to the self, the other to the hive. Both built temples of glass in storm-tossed seas. And both shattered when the weight of human nature pressed down. The lighthouse never pointed to salvation. Its beam cycled through ages, lighting the same delusions, that men could forge utopias without surrendering their shadows. Rapture drowned not because its towers were too high, but because its foundation was a question. Who decides what survives? The answer always bleeds. Lamb's sisterhood devoured its kin as surely as the Wungs devoured theirs. No system escapes the arithmetic of greed and fear. Objectivism's collapse proved that. The sisterhoods proved it again. Two acts in the same play, two faces of the same coin. The ocean does not judge which ideology sinks first. It only swallows. What remains when the masks are stripped? The lighthouse spins eternal. And the question hums, if all chains are forged in the same fire, can any soul ever break free? The lighthouse's beam carves through fog, a blade of borrowed light. Sophia Lamb's sisterhood rose not as a counter to objectivism, but as its grotesque twin. Where Rapture's Ayn Rand disciples drowned in self, the sisterhood drowns in the collective. Both demand surrender, both chain the soul. What if the true horror isn't collectivism versus individualism, but the ritual itself, the need to build a god in any image? The sisterhood's 8 tenets, etched in iron, promise unity through annihilation of self. Yet their hymns echo with the same hunger for purity that fueled the lighthouse's original sin. The same gears grind. The same blood stains the cogs. How many revolutions before the cycle forgets its own name? The lighthouse spins. And the question sharpens, when the mirror shatters, does it cut both ways? 115 words. The glass of her utopia hums, a cold song in the lighthouse's shadow, a reflection not of virtue but of infection spreading. Every hand she binds tightens the noose around her own throat. What kind of weapon needs both shooter and